One voice.
Okay, my name is Ronald Duncan.
And my name is Johnny McDowell.
Welcome to One Voice. We're going to get right into it. John, I want to know the reason why you've been away from the literary scene for so long.
Well, the reason why I've been gone, I got involved in a car wreck, and the accident left me with having to have 2 procedures done to my back. And this has been one of those situations where you know, when you're involved in a car accident or involved in any type of accident, you start depleting your finances to the max.
No,
you know,
I really
me and my wife got to the point to where, I'm not trying to put our business in the street, but we got to the point to where our home was almost foreclosed on. You know, just days away from that. You know, and this is how bad things got. Wasn't making enough money to just overcome everything, you know, but by the grace of God, you know, we sit here today, you know, everything is okay, and I'm back on the scene, 2 books coming out, and God is good, bro.
Okay, with that then, I guess you call this a comeback, or
no, I wouldn't actually just call it a comeback, because I've never left. You know, when literary is deep rooted in my heart the way it is right now, it's like it's impossible for me to get disconnected from that, period.
Yeah,
you know,
I can understand it, because
so,
I've been around you a while, and I've seen you grow, and I've been a part of some of the things you've written.
Yeah.
So I know it's in your heart. I know you love to do it. So that's why I want to ask you, was it a comeback, or did you consider it just coming back and getting back into it because of what happened to you?
Well, you know, God has a sense of creating a vessel to either slow you down or to speed you up. And even at this time, it gave me, my absence gave me the opportunity to think outside the box. When I look at where I was before the accident, I was really just gun-ho, even to the point where, you know, I'm thinking that I'm getting ready to make $1 million, you know, because this is the way that I figured that I'm doing things the right way, you know. But this accident gave me the opportunity to think outside the box. One example,
yes,
I spent like $7,000 on with Radio 1, and just for advertising, picking up ads, doing the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and they gave me a part of Texas, they gave me a part of Arkansas, a part of Louisiana, and just a big chunk of Texas. But when it came down to that, Steve Harvey, I mean, it's a syndicated show, but they only gave me a piece. You know, I'm not saying that radio does not work, you know, because it did work for me. It brought me a lot of fan base. It brought me some potential customers, you know.
Okay.
And I've gotten to the point where I had to really just look at what I did in the past versus what I'm about to do in the future.
Okay, to piggyback on that. So what have you changed business-wise so you can be more successful this time?
Well, that's another issue right there. My mentor told me that a good businessman is good with his finances at his home first.
Okay.
You know,
true.
And that's where it has to actually start on there. Now, when it comes down to business, as you may know, and I don't think the public knows, but on my first book, no big publishing company would pick me up, so I had to go with a company called Ex Libris, and they are considered print-on-demand giants. And it was like giving up one of my first book, which Raising Hope for Darius. It's a murder mystery, and it was like giving up one of my children to CPS voluntarily. You know?
Understand that.
And I had to give them, I had to take this step to go with them because of the opportunity.
Yes.
You know, if I wasn't getting picked up by the big 3, having this opportunity to use as a vessel to move forward is just something that I had to do. Now, after I put out Raising Hope for Darius, I ended up in a Barnes and Nobles in East Point, Georgia, and just 2 hours early for a book signing when I ran into this book called Self-Publishing for Dummies. And that book actually taught me step by step how to produce my own publishing company. And they provided all the forms that I needed to buy, like barcodes, ISBN numbers, to close my deal on my distribution and stuff like that. But being said that, it did not teach me how to be a proper businessman.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I see a lot of rappers wanting to get into the game. You know, I see even in the literary world. If you don't understand the business aspect, and like myself, I got into it, I dove head first into it and not understanding the business aspect to it, to the point to where the IRS is sending threatening letters, you know.
Okay.
You can't, going from my first book, I was earning 10% royalty fees, but being a self-publisher, it's like being independent allows me to earn almost 82% of the money. But me not understanding, it's like just because you sold a book for $17, $19, that don't mean that that money is yours, you know.
Okay.
And as soon as the money start coming in, Johnny starts spending it, you know. And that's bad business right there. When I should have thought, to answer your question, I should have been in the mindset to when I sell a $17 book, I have to put at least $3 back to produce the next book.
Yes.
You know, I at least have to put 8.5% back for my taxes on each book, you know, because the money doesn't belong to me. I at least have to put back a percentage of that book for my layout crew for the next book, you know.
Yes.
And then, so actually off a $17 book, I'm only making $3, $4. That's it. You know, but that's my mindset right now, you know, and it wasn't my mindset back then, you know.
Because of inexperience.
Because of inexperience, yeah.
Just piggybacking off it again, I'm from Waco, in the area that you're from, basically, and a lot of rumors is saying that you're at your breaking point. Would you consider that accurate, or is it just this is just a hurdle for you to get over?
Well, to answer that question, that's kind of harsh right there, bro. We're going to talk about that after the show. But to answer that question right there, when we talk about breaking points, we want to talk about the sacrifices that I've put in, first and foremost with the man upstairs, you know.
Yes.
Second, with my wife and my children, you know.
Yes, sir.
Because when it comes down to the building block, if I don't have all this in place, then I don't have anything, you know. So when it comes down to the breaking point, I guess we're talking about the writing career.
Yes.
You know? Okay. Yes. Like I said earlier, this situation has given me an opportunity to advance myself in a way, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, you know. And when it comes down to growth, it's like I'm stepping into 2020 with 2 books, you know. And I'm not saying that other authors can't do the same. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, you know. But from the time that I've been out, it's given me opportunity to actually just think about how I'm going to do this. Think about better ways, you know, to communicate my skills.
So basically using the wisdom that you gave.
Yes, yes.
When you started out,
yes,
because you were green and
yes,
you didn't understand a lot of aspects of the business.
A lot. I'm more dangerous.
Yes.
Right now. Yeah,
So I thought
I'm
you were dangerous at first, but
I'm a lot dangerous.
But
I was a powder puff.
Well,
I was a powder puff then because I didn't understand. No knowledge, but yeah.
I guess I was basing it off the hunger that I saw you.
Yeah.
You had a lot of hunger.
Yeah.
You was ready to, you know, to explode. And
I was ready to tackle the world first go round. But yeah, this time, yeah, I'm a lot more. I'm a threat. I'm a lot more dangerous this time.
Now, this may be strange, but do you have any regrets of what happened? You know, with the accident, or you know, with you making bad business choices and not investing back into yourself like you should have in the beginning. Is there any regrets, or you just see it as something that you need to learn doing the way to make you who you are today?
I mean, to answer that question, my answer wouldn't have anything to do with the literary world or the books or business or anything. One of my regrets that I have personally, in 1996, I ended up going to jail and ended up with a prison sentence of 12 years. I regret that I made the decisions that I did. My regrets, I left my wife, you know, alone to function in a world that isn't too friendly. My regrets, I left 2 babies at home, you know. One of my biggest regrets, you know, like any other child, I'm a mama's boy, and I'm gonna go ahead and admit that. But you know, for 12 years and almost 12 years, I feel, whether she did it or not, I felt that my mother's head was hung low, you know, and she had nothing, especially when it come down to being proud of her son, you know, whether she tried to hide the fact, you know, that I was in prison, or, you know, even if some people knew about it, you know, it wasn't something for my mother to hold her head up high, you know. And right now, that's a game changer for me. From the time they released me from that bondage, I made absolutely sure that my wife was okay. I made absolutely sure that my children were okay. I made absolutely sure that my mom held her head up high. What's the name of that African tribe that the women have those brass rings up under her neck, you know?
I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, my mother walks around with an invisible rings around her neck because it's impossible for her to hang her head down low when it comes down to her children, man. You know,
yes.
and that right there, it's like it's a daily thing for me to do when it comes down to my mom and my family, you know, daily. So you know, when it comes down to those type of regrets, this is my Ajax to remove everything, you know.
So would you say, with nothing to, would you say that was what happened with you in prison, going to prison? Do you think that's one of the biggest motivating factors?
Huge turning point.
Okay.
Turning point. You know,
okay.
when in prison life, I'm sure that there's a lot of families that have at least one person that's incarcerated. One of the biggest things and advantages, especially, that I had while I was incarcerated was the fact that I was educated, you know, and the most important thing, the most important lesson that I learned during the whole time that I was there is the definition of recidivism. You know, and when it comes down to recidivism, brother, I've seen people come and go, you know, in and out of prison, to the fact that one guy seen him leave the unit and go home and come back 3 times, you know. And you have to ask yourself that question of why, or what's going on in his life, or what's going on with it. And nobody can blame it on the system. I'm sorry. Nobody can blame it on the system.
Not if you're going back,
it's the individual.
Yes.
And that was a wake-up call for me, because in my mindset, the system will never get me ever again. You know, not even if you try to harm somebody in my family, because I'm gonna be at the right. Yes. At all times. So the system would never get a hold of me again, you know. But to answer your question, yeah, it was a turning point in my life, because I made up my mind during that time that I had to figure out something that would work for me in life, because I've given up almost 12 years of my life, you know, to a prison system. Yes. You know. So I had to come out not just with something, but with a solution. Yes. You know. Yes. So being an avid reader the whole time that I was incarcerated, I started dissecting, if you will. I started dissecting the books of my favorite authors to the point to where I knew exactly when it was time for them to close because they were repetitive, you know.
Yes.
And I knew when I was getting ready to get halfway through the book because they were repetitive, you know. So reading became an outlet to me to the point to where I started scrutinizing.
And it gave you a way out when you got out.
And it gave, yeah, it gave me a way out. So by me having an opportunity to scrutinize, when everybody else thought a certain book was off the chain, and I thought that it was, you know, boo-boo.
Based off all the books you read and,
yes,
and analyzing them.
So for me to say I could have done better than that, you know, out loud, I was challenged. And having that challenge, I read different formats, so it gave me the opportunity in that challenge to create my own format, and that's when I started writing.
Yeah, so that's when you really started to get into saying, well, I'm going to be a writer.
Right. Well, when I got to the point to where my fan base at the time were my 9 amigos that I hang out with right now here in the Free Society. So when I started passing my work out to the 9 amigos, their feedback fueled me to the point to where I'm finna write another one, you know. And when I got to the point to where I finished the whole book like in 27, 28, 29 days, and then had it typed up during the whole time, it was like completed typed up. Y'all read this right here. And it was like, man, this is off the chain, you know. So whether they was trying to boost up my ego or not, it worked, because right now society gave me 5 stars on my first 2 books, you know. So, and with society saying that it's great work, I never was one to get caught up in genres, because it's like if you give me a book by Eric Jerome Dickey, I know what I'm getting ready to read. If you give me a book by Carl Weber, I know what I'm about ready to read, you know. If you give me a Western book by one of my favorite authors, I know what I'm getting ready to read. Toni Morrison, I know what I'm getting ready to read. I didn't want to be that type of writer, because it's important to me for my fan base to understand that that's what I am. I am a writer, you know. So that's the reason why I came out. I wrote, my first book was a murder mystery. Actually, it was the 3rd book that I'd ever written in prison, you know, but it's my first published book.
What was the first book you wrote? What was the first book you wrote in prison?
It's getting ready to come out right now. I entitled it A Shift in My World. Okay. But I had to change the title of it because intellect, thinking outside the box right now, if I wanted to start selling my book to, you know, other facets, you know, that walk the face of this earth, I had to remove ebonics.
Make it more.
Period.
Make it more versatile.
Yeah. I tell people a lot that I have more Caucasians purchasing my books than I do African Americans in this area here. Now, if I'm in Atlanta, DC, New York, Miami, it's a whole different ball game, you know. So understanding that my first book, I crossed over, you know what I'm saying, without me even knowing that I crossed over. So right now, in order to continue that path over, I have to remove ebonics, you know, because my editor told me one day, and I laugh about it all the time, when editing A Shift in My World, my layout crew came back and said, well, we got notes from your editor, and here they are right here, and he wants to know, and these are all ebonics, you know. So I had to teach him, you know, about what this word means and stuff like that, and he came back, he said, I got it now, you know. So by him doing that right now, I promised him this time that there will be no more ebonics. He said, Johnny, you're going to do well. You're going to do well.
Now, I know you got some new material.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want you to talk a little bit about Kubi's adventure. I want you to tell everybody.
Kubi's adventure. Kubi's about a caterpillar. He runs into, has knowledge of everything that's around him right now. And he runs into a grasshopper who's jumping all over the place, and introduces himself and wished that he could do everything the grasshopper can do, and he's saddened to the fact that he doesn't have the ability that the grasshopper has. The grasshopper gives him great advice: just be patient, and you're going to turn into something beautiful. He also runs into the cricket, making beautiful music with his wings, and wish that he could do the same thing too, or had the abilities that he has. And the cricket gives him great advice. Just be patient, and you're going to turn into something beautiful. And he runs into the bumblebee, wishes he could do the same thing that the bumblebee could do, or have the responsibilities. And bumblebee gives him great advice, just be patient, and you're going to turn into something beautiful. But moral of the story is, it's for children that have low self-esteem,
So in other words, you're just saying it's about being patient.
Yeah. Well, I ran into this little girl, and she was saddened because people, the other kids are picking on her at school. And I saw her mother was trying to treat her to some ice cream at Dairy Queen.
Okay.
And I just, asked her, I said, what's wrong, And the mother just looks down there and said, tell the gentleman what's wrong, And she said, the kids pick on me. And I'm like, why do they pick on you? And she said, because, they call me Freckle Face, And I said, well, you haven't answered the question yet. Why did they pick on you, And it kind of tickled me because she put her hands on the hip, and said, because they call me Freckle Face, So I hurry up and pulled up a lot of movie stars that has freckles on their face, a lot of models that have freckles on their face, and I just showed it to her. And I said, do you know who that is? And she told me who it was, And I said, well, can you tell me something that they have in common that you have? She said, they have freckles, Mom. And she just grabbed my phone and just, look, Mom, they have freckles too, So I told her that freckles, in her case, are beauty marks. And that's something that every kid doesn't have. And God bless you with those right there, So she kind of lightened up,
This is another side of you then.
Yeah,
This is showing some versatility.
Yeah, and it's just like Kubi. He gets depressed, climbs up the tree, attaches himself to a leaf, creates his bedding, and sleeps for a while. When he wakes up, he discovers that he's caught up into something that he's never experienced. And once he breaks free from that, he discovers everything new about him. He goes back. Sees the grasshopper, want to plainly make it known, look at my wings, look at my beautiful wings, Yes. And everybody acknowledged, Kubi, we told you that you were going to turn into something, beautiful, something great,
Yes.
And I think that with children these days, I hate, man, with a passion that they grow up knowing that sometimes that their worth is just low, and that's sad. And I really don't know where they get that from, Parents don't teach them that, And it's like for all the kids that want to come to school and be bullies and stuff like that, it's just, it just needs to just stop, because if a child feels that they don't like something about themselves, at 4 or 5 or 6 years old, that's critical, dude.
Yeah, so I can kind of relate.
That's
to that.
critical.
I can relate to that because, I was bullied.
Really?
Yeah,
A gorilla? Oh, you was a chimpanzee back in the day.
I wasn't what you see now.
Right.
I was the kind of shy guy.
Right.
That's interesting because I think that's important that you you relate to the children.
Yeah, and I think I hope it's not just a message just for the children, but I hope it's a message for the parents as well.
Yes. Yes.
Because you want to teach your children about a lot of things, but we missing the mark, if you just, be enlightened about what they're telling you,
Yes.
you're missing the mark about them being taught their self-worth.
Yes.
You know, and they should start at an early age.
And to bring it closer to home, especially our children.
So I think that children, once they read Kubi, and I'm not patting myself on the back or nothing, it's just this is my way of delivering a message.
Yes.
You know, and I think they'll enjoy that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as a writer, that's part of your responsibility, I think.
Well,
to be able to deal with the children and to go into their world and help them as well.
Right.
As a writer.
And then at the same time, I'm also, you know, showing society, the literary world, that I'm a writer.
Yes.
You know,
all the way around.
Raising Hope for Darius, about a 2-year boy, the only witness to his mother's untimely death, and the killer not knowing that a 2-year-old would help solve the murder. You know, my first book got 5 stars. Book of Amazon's Book of the Month 3 times. You know, and that was a big accomplishment for me. We look at A Shift in My World, which is a high impact drama, and I'm going to write the sequel to that a little later on, because I've been waiting to get these books out, and it's like, tell the truth, God put it on my heart to just do this children's book.
Yes.
You know, so I'm gonna obey. You know,
I got both of the books.
Yeah.
My favorite, you know, just
right.
It's,
well, that's because your son is on the cover of the first book.
No.
What?
I just like the whole story.
Okay.
It's riveting.
Yeah.
It keeps you interested in what's happening.
Yeah.
So you can't put it down.
Yeah. And I've been told that.
Most readers, the book have to keep their attention.
Right.
If it don't keep your attention, then you won't read it.
Right.
So to me, Raising Hope for Darius is a dear book to me anyway.
Right.
Not because just my son, but just the whole storyline.
Well, I knew that. I started feeling good about it once they started doing a campaign for Lifetime to try to do a movie on it, you know. And I said, well, I'm on to something right there.
Make sure my son in it.
Right. Right. Well, hold on. Speaking of that, is our direction that I take, and Toni Morrison opened up the doors for me mentally.
Yes.
When I was incarcerated. And I made up my mind at the time then that the only stories that I'm going to write, and my form and my way of just communicating to my readers is to write a book that I feel that will connect or at least respond to the filmmakers.
Yes.
You know, and that's my attitude with everything that I write about. You know, I think it's a shame that Toni Morrison did a great job, you know, of opening up the doors. But like we've discussed many a times, you know, that doesn't make any sense for somebody to open up the doors and they don't go in to go get what they want.
Yes,
you know,
they can't.
Yeah.
So it has to be accessibility.
It has to be accessibility. If you went through the doors and you help create something for the next writer, I think it's important for you to demonstrate that this is what I did when I went through the doors. But she did that for me.
Yes.
She did that for me.
Yes.
Now, you don't put out a book like Precious and you just fall off the map. You know, I hurried up and went to the movies to go see this, you know, just because it was based on a book.
So he has everybody in anticipation for the next one.
For the next one. You know, the same thing with The Help.
Yes.
You know, I hurry up and went to the movie as a writer because it was based on a book.
Yes.
You know, now where the writer's at, I don't know. But Toni Morrison, I feel, and I don't want to brag about it or anything like that, but when I tell people that Waiting to Exhale, they was like, man, that is off the chain. I said, well, a piece that I wrote called Can We Say Grace Now?
Yes.
And it's my chick book.
Yes.
And I told, you know, this guy that it's going to be better than Waiting to Exhale. He like, oh,
I believe it.
same thing. He's like, oh man, come on, man. I'm serious because Waiting to Exhale, the book, you can't compare that with the movie because of the cast that they brought in.
Yes.
You know, don't look at the cast, look at the book. You know, so
the cast kind of overshadowed.
they made it.
Yes.
This is where the Oscars came in. Everybody got awards and everything. You know, I'm not saying that it helped put Whitney Houston on the map because she was already the map.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, she was the map.
Yes. You talking about Whitney?
Yeah. So Angela Bassett and everybody else that came along with it, those are heavy hitters.
You talking about, man, that was an all-star cast.
That was an all-star staff.
We talking
Now, if I had that same cast
Angela
with,
Bassett by herself.
well, I really want, a couple of more, you know. But if I had that cast and they were making the movie on Can We Say Grace Now, you know, and
there you go.
It's about 4 females. Miss Tucker, who just lost her husband, waited 2 years before she prayed to God to, you know, bring her a man in her life that she can enjoy, that was even greater than her husband. Mr. Tucker was the man, you know.
Man,
So after she prayed, and lo and behold, God answered her prayers. But, you know, Clarence was like 27 years younger than she was, you know. But once the daughters found out about it, you know, they started wreaking havoc, you know. The moral of that story is going to be that whenever you find love at, you know, you run with that, you know, no matter. Yeah.
Regardless.
But for me to have 4 females to play that role, oh, come on, man. I feel that it's going to be very, very nice. You know?
I'm not quite that. My wife is 10 years older than me. Not 27.
Well, why you look older than she do?
I don't know, man.
I need to talk to her about that. That's great. That's good. That's great. But will I ever? Oh, ladies, we're talking about ultimate love story.
Yes.
And, you know, anytime I meet with a book club, they always asking me what part of the book is true, you know. And I kind of like, you know, well, what part do you think it was true? You know, I think all of it was true. But it's some parts in every writer's material that ends up being true, because that's the basis of emotions that are placed in the book.
Yes.
You know, I reminded my son that when I was 16 or 17, I had a girlfriend named Mickey Satchel. Mickey Satchel, yeah, and she was a recluse everywhere she went around school, and I just noticed her down in the library eating out of her purse and out of her pocket, you know, and went down, true story, went down to her and told her that she can't do that, you know, and she, you know, got fly as a black woman and asked me, you know, who are you, you know, and I told her that I was a library patrol. I'm trying to put my Mac down. I was a library patrol, but going on, I'm gonna get down to the serious part of the relationship. I finally got her to experience a Friday pep rally. You know, never did go to one. You know, went to her first one. You know, so she kind of opened up, and then that's when here we are in January, and I'm trying to convince her to go to the Valentine's dance. You know,
so you done moved up.
Yeah, I moved up a little bit, man. Yeah, so, you know, she decided to go, and, you know, we started picking out matching outfits, and I started ordering flowers and candies to be delivered like everybody else, you know. So, the week before, she caught a little cold, got sick, and remember it like it was yesterday, went over to her house, and you know, she laid her head on my lap and everything. When her mom came in, she was like, you know, what's wrong with Mickey? And took her temperature and everything, but it was like maybe 100, 101. But the following day, I'm waiting on her bus to pull up, and Mickey didn't get off of it. So her sister came up, gave me a letter. You know, evidently she was crying, stating that her mama wouldn't let her go to school because her temperature was up too high, you know. And, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'll see her after work, you know, after school. So third period, I saw our sister come to the classroom, whisper to the teacher. Teacher says, Johnny, you need to get your books and everything and, step outside. So I get outside the classroom, and immediately she just dragged me by my hand and went out to the back of the high school. And when I went through the doors, I saw her mother, all her brothers and sisters, and I'm like, what's going on? And two of my best friends. And her mother told me, Johnny, she said, I don't know how to tell you this, baby, but Mickey died, And I felt like Charlie Brown felt like listening to the teacher,
That's cool.
And it was like, say that again, and I'm like, come on, man, y'all don't play with me like that, and I just, man, everything I lost my legs and everything, and once I understood, I got up and ran all the way home, and coming through the front door, I saw my mother there. And she told me, and I was telling her, Mama, they said Mickey died, And at the time, my mother was delivering babies for the hospitals in Waco.
Okay.
And she told me, she said, I was on my way out the door, and I saw Miss Satchel, and she told me, she said, they taking Mickey to the back, So she goes back there, and even though they tried to put her out, she said, that's my son's girlfriend. So I was told, my mother told me that they tried to revive her 3 times,
Wow.
and they couldn't do it anymore, and it was like, she said, baby, I'm so sorry, but that conversation right there made me shut down for almost 3 weeks until she came into my bedroom. No school, no nothing. She came into my bedroom and she said, son, I want you to listen to me. She said, Miss Satchel is not going to bury that girl until till you up to coming to this funeral. She ain't gonna bury her without you. You need to show her some respect and, get off your ass and get yourself together and, come in and talk to her, and I apologized to her. And 2 days later, we buried Mickey, But going to school the following week, flowers and candies and everything start coming in, and it's like when they called out Mickey's name, man, I was too through then, and I grabbed the flowers and everything, man, and I went home and I told my mom I can't go to that school no more, and that got me to another grade, another high school,
Yeah.
So when it comes down to a lot of emotional things that I put inside the book, some of the things are heartfelt and some of the things are real,
Yes.
And it made for a good story. But in that book, the character deals with the fact that every time he starts, having feelings for one of the characters in the book, he has this battle with God that God's always taking something away from him,
Yes.
So there's a time where my main character accidentally gets shot, goes into a coma, loses his girlfriend. The girlfriend strays away. He stayed in a coma for almost a year and a half. Wakes up, girlfriend's no longer there. His best friend told him she strayed, So getting down to the story, he falls in love with the nurse that helps him rehabilitate, and for 25 years they have 3 children, but he's closed-hearted, and they went on a trip during the wedding anniversary one year, and she asked him, will you ever love me like you love Maya, and which made me come up the title, Will I Ever, but he realized then that God really gave him everything that he's ever asked for,
Okay.
Beautiful woman, beautiful children, a nice life and everything. And he just didn't realize it at the time. And what hurt him so bad was that his wife at the time really just stood in there with him over all these years knowing this. And he didn't, have any clue because he felt like he was protecting her,
Well, I haven't read the book, but
Yeah.
you just made me feel like I read it.
So Will I Ever, man, it's going to be,
Riveting.
it's going to be riveting. Yeah, it's going to be a nice love story. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get a little bit off, not off subject, but I just want to know what your objective is for One Voice. What is
Oh,
what is the
One Voice.
what is the main?
I
thing you
I spent so much money on my first 2 books when it came down to marketing and advertisement that I really didn't gain notoriety that I wanted to. I've had the opportunity of meeting some great people during my journey, and having the opportunity just to sit down and have a meal with them, you know, having the opportunity just to sit down and vibe with them for more than an hour made me realize how important that of a lesson that they gave me, because they were just regular people, you know. I can remember sitting in Dayton, Ohio after a book conference with Jesse Jackson in the airport, you know, and having the opportunity just to give him a book. He was totally impressed to the fact that I came out of prison for so long and this is what I'm doing right now, you know, which gave him an opportunity to tell me that his son, Jesse Jackson Jr., was in prison, and they keep locking him up in administrative segregation because they feel that he's, you know, inciting a riot. But he wasn't inciting a riot. He just speaking up for all the wrong that was going on.
Inside the walls.
So I feel that a year or 2 ago, I started to, you know, reach out to a lot of people that I had the pleasure of running into over the 3-year span from the 2 books that were out primarily, and have the opportunity to, you know, just touch bases with them and ask them what they mind doing a one-on-one interview. I feel that it's important for me to think outside the box and create one voice to the point to where it'll allow my audience to cue in to all the interviews, and at the same time, you know, create little commercial breaks and everything for you to at least look at the book trailers, and you might even consider buying a book while you're there at the same time, you know.
Okay.
So instead of traveling around the United States, trying to make a name for myself, I figured that I would sit here, you know, on this format and create something for the audience so I can bring them to me.
Yes,
you know?
a little more personable.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is what One Voice is, you know.
Okay.
I created it for the consumer, you know.
It's a platform.
And it's a platform for the consumer to sit in my chair.
Yes.
And, you know, talk about different various subjects.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
You know, we talked about on my way up here before the interview started that I was getting ready to interview a Klansman, and I just needed a green light from him. You know? And
A Klansman, that's
a Klansman.
that's interesting.
Yeah, from the Ku Klux Klan. But the only reason why I wanted to do it because of for all the ruckus that they've came up, you know, over the past 3 years from this presidency.
Yes. Yes.
If they want a state or nation all to themselves, I really want them to explain of how they're going to function without the rest of society.
Independently.
Yeah, yeah. So, and as long as he doesn't use the N-word, everything is all good. You know, no disrespect.
I would love to be a part of that forum.
Well, I'm gonna invite you there.
I appreciate it. There's a lot of things I would love to say.
Right.
Okay. Now, I know you're a confident person. You know, you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
But I want to know. You know, we talk a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Now, you've expressed to me, whether it be directly or indirectly,
Yeah.
that you the best author in Texas.
Oh.
So wait, tell me why.
Hold on. He didn't mean it that way. Okay, let me clear it up before anything breaks loose or whatever. We are going to wait to edit this, right? Well, let me explain first, okay? When I say that I'm not telling you that I feel that I am.
Okay.
You know, now when it comes down to being the best writer, I don't place myself in the league with all the ladies.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have a lot of ladies that are the authors. I'm not stepping on their toes or anything.
Also, best male.
Yeah. But males, I'm telling you right now,
He's telling you right now.
I'm telling you right now. The only reason why I'm telling you that right there, because none of you have taken a step to say that you are the best in the state of Texas. And I'm only stating that I am the best in the state of Texas because what I'm about to do. I'm gonna put out 2 books this year, and I'm gonna put out another 2 in 2021. Now, it's not about putting out books, it's where you go. Now, if any of you, excuse my expression, if any of you feel that you want something, come and get me. Come and get me.
Well, just make sure I interview you.
Oh, you will.
Okay.
You will.
Just make sure, so we can really get into
2 books this year, 2 books next year, depending on where we're going. I mean that.
All right. Well, man, it's been great, brother.
I appreciate you, man. It's been a pleasure for you to even do this interview, man.
No doubt about it, man. I really enjoyed it, man.
Yeah.
Till the next time, we'll be meeting with my boy Johnny McDowell.
One voice.
One voice.
We have to close the door on them.
Ain't no door, it's curtains. It's curtains.
Pull the curtain on and put a mute button on it.
When you say kid, everybody answers. Come on. Say kid.
Which one?
Chitter chatter picking up in the mic. So